And welcome everybody to another edition of Tobs Talk. I'm Jake Donnelly. Tobs Talk is presented by Thomas and Ferris right here on Greenlight Channel 2. Well, the Tobs have dropped their last two games. They now sit at 10-10 on the season. A couple nights back, they played host to the Edenton Steamers, who lead the East Division of the Coastal Plain League, and the Tobs were fighting back the entire game. Down 2-0, tied at 2-2. Down 4-2, made it a 4-3 score. It was a close game until the top of the 8th inning when the Steamers put 5 runs across the board. It was 6-4 at the beginning of the inning, and then those 5 runs made it an 11-4 game. Quinn Atwood was the tough luck loser for the Tobs. He drops to 1-2 on the season. He pitched 5 2/3. He allowed 6 runs, 4 earned, but with some better defense behind him, Atwood actually could have gone about 7 innings and allowed just 1 or 2 runs, but some tough plays by the Tobs defense which hit off their gloves, some bad routes in the outfield, and then some costly errors as well, which forced Atwood to make some more pitches. Tobs offense trying to round into form, and that offense, which has been at the top or near the top of the CPL for the entire summer, is starting to lose some of its steam, and no pun intended. That started against the Steamers a couple nights back, and then last night the Tobs drove up to Hampton, Virginia to take on the Peninsula Pilots. An hour-and-a-half rain delay ensued, and then when the game got started, it seemed like the Tobs were a little bit sluggish. However, Christian Slasnick was out on the mound, and he kept the game close for the Tobs. They were down 2-0 until the top of the 4th inning, when the Tobs got 1 run across the board. They would get another in the top of the 5th on a 2-out RBI double from Seth LaRue. The Fighting Camels from Campbell University really doing a good job as of late. LaRue, the first baseman, who is on a tear after starting the season 0 for 12, and then Matthew Parrish, who picked up another RBI in last night's game. However, while Slasnick was pitching really well out on the mound for the Tobs, he made 2 big mistakes. Those mistakes were pickoffs over to first base, which actually got by Seth LaRue. On those pickoffs, they got by LaRue, and they rolled all the way to the wall. On both of those pickoffs, I should say, they led directly to Pilots' runs. The first one allowed a guy to reach third base, and then Kyle Johnson came up for the Pilots and hit a sacrifice fly to left field. And then later in the game, when the score was 2-2, a play I had never seen before, a pickoff over at first base, and the runner, who was on first base, Will Shepard for the Pilots, went all the way from first and scored on the errant pickoff through. Ben Schmucker was the first man to the ball down the right field line, but his throw was a multi-hopper, and Parrish was unable to handle it. The slide from Shepard, a headfirst dive, was kind of like the Willie Mays Hayes dive in Major League, where he almost didn't reach the bag. He literally stopped with his fingers right on top of the plate. One of the crazier plays I'd ever seen, and the Tobs ended up on the wrong side of that play, going down 3-2. They did threaten in the 8th inning, but Ben Schmucker, who was on second base with 1 out after being sacrificed over by Doug Teagarden, was actually picked off on an inside move. So just not the way the Tobs wanted that 1-game road trip to go. They have dropped their last 2 games, and they now sit at 500 at 10-10 on the season. However, the Tobs have spent less than 24 hours under the 500 mark, and we'll see if they can turn things around tonight against the Martinsville Mustangs. It is the first and only time that the Tobs will play the Mustangs this summer, this season, and so we'll see if they can do some damage against the bottom dwellers in the West Division of the Coastal Plain League. We have a great episode of Tobs Talk coming up. We have Justin Hay, head coach of the Tobs. We have Scott Evans, the regional president of BB&T, as well as Tracy Wellington, representative from Chick-fil-A, and also Matthew Parrish, the man who drove in a run for the Tobs last night and has been playing some pretty decent ball behind the plate for the Tobs. All that and more on this edition of Tobs Talk, presented by Thomas and Ferris. Welcome back, everybody, to this edition of Tobs Talk. I'm Jake Donnelly. Tobs Talk is presented by Thomas and Ferris right here on Greenlight Channel 2. With me right now is head coach of the Tobs, Justin Hay. And Justin, despite the fact that the Tobs have lost their last 2 games, they're actually playing pretty well, especially last night in Hampton Beach against the Peninsula Pilots. A 3-2 loss, but they've really played well. What is it they have to do to get over that hump?
I think we have to do a little bit better job executing. We have runners in scoring position, and we have to quit making timely errors that seem to always give the other team a run. And tip your hat to the guys that we've played the last couple of days. When we've made errors, they've taken advantage of it.
And then you talk about the errors. Christian Slasnick actually threw away 2 balls on pickoff attempts, which directly led to 2 runs. And quite frankly, that was the difference in last night's game. In terms of executing, is it just the Tobs are kind of pressing a little bit, or is it more the other teams are really just taking advantage?
Well, Peninsula's a very good base stealing team. They're stealing base at an 80 or 90% clip. So it was something we were focused on, and Christian was doing a good job with the running game last night. And there was a lot of times he had to pick, and he threw two away. The one he threw away, the guy took off running on him, and he tried to throw over and just misled our first baseman a little bit. And, I don't think it's anything pressing or anything he's doing wrong. I think there was just a lot of chances to throw balls away last night, and unfortunately he did. But, Christian threw extremely well, gave us a really good chance to win, and we couldn't take advantage of some opportunities we had, and they did, and that was the difference in the game.
And talking about pitchers that pitched well, Jonathan Wazak had 2 innings last night, 2 scoreless innings, and he's actually had 5 appearances in a row without allowing a run. What is he doing so well out on the mound, especially because he's a kid who started the season up top, then was put down below at Western Carolina, and now is back up top?
Right now he's throwing strikes. Wazak's got some really good stuff. When he first got to us, he was struggling with his arm slot and finding it and being able to repeat it. And we've worked on it and got him in the bullpen and tried to simplify a lot of things, and it seems to be working for him right now, so we hope that continues.
And we also have a guy in the first baseman, Seth LaRue, who started the season 0 for 12, but all of a sudden is rounding into form. What's he doing at the plate that is really the difference right now for him?
I just think he made the adjustment to the wood bats. He had a great year this year at Campbell, and so I think it just took him a little time to get adjusted. He's a very good hitter. And I expect to see him in the middle of the lineup pretty much for the rest of the season.
And what's the hardest part when it comes to juggling the lineup, trying to get guys in? How do you decide who plays on what night, who doesn't play, who sits, who gets some rest?
Well, in reference to Seth, we're trying to keep him in the lineup right now because he's kind of on a roll, swinging it. The big problem is trying to make sure somebody doesn't get rusty while you've got somebody who's hot. And when do you sit that guy? When do you take him and give him a break and not let him wear down, because we do play every day. So the biggest thing is just trying to read their bodies, because they're not going to tell you, ask them for the game, how do you feel? They're, oh, I'm fine. But they are tearing down, they are wearing down, they need a day off here and there. It's gotten extremely hot lately, so BP has become, something that we have to even take a little bit slower just to make sure we don't wear ourselves out. But between making sure somebody doesn't get rusty and not letting somebody wear themselves out, it can become pretty challenging, but we're trying to do the best we can with it.
And last night's game was an hour-and-a-half rain delay before the first pitch was ever thrown. I'm sure some of the fans at home would like to know, what's the most difficult part about those rain delay games?
Well, a night like last night where you don't start on time, that's okay. That's kind of an easier adjustment for guys. It's when we play the first 2-3 innings and then take an hour-and-a-half rain delay that really hurts us. Last night I thought the guys responded well. I think they kind of stayed loose and stayed relaxed. I don't know if not being able to take BP before the game affected us. Didn't seem to at times, and other times seemed like our time was a little off. So, that might have been the biggest thing. But other than that, I thought we handled the adjustment pretty well.
And staying loose doesn't really seem to be this team's problem. It seems one of the things that they have to work on is their bowling ability.
Yeah, they got beat in the rain delay games last night, but hey. It happens.
It happens to the best of us. Well, Justin, thank you for coming in this morning. When we come right back, we'll have a representative for BB&T with us right here on this edition of Tobs Talk. And welcome back, everybody, to this casual Friday edition of Tobs Talk. I'm Jake Donnelly, and as promised, I have Scott Evans here with me. Scott is the regional president of the Northeast region for BB&T. Scott, thank you for coming in this morning.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having us.
And Scott, what exactly does that title mean? What do you do?
Good question. BB&T is segmented into 23 community bank regions, which allows us to stay close to our clients. So I've got day-to-day responsibilities to oversee our commercial banking operations, our retail banking operations, indirectly with mortgage, and just the general overall operations of how the region runs on a day-to-day basis. So fortunately, I've got really great people in place that are out there running our branches, running our cities from a commercial standpoint. So I look at my role as just there to provide them the tools and resources they need to be able to effectively serve our clients.
And what does it mean to you and BB&T knowing that you are the largest employer in Wilson?
we take it very serious with the responsibility of that. Having 2,200 associates here, we take a great amount of pride in Wilson and the community, and recognize the responsibility that goes with being such a civic leader. And we continue to put a lot of money reinvesting back into the community through the loans that we make, as well as contributions we do through various organizations.
And speaking of these contributions, you have a project, BB&T has a project called the Lighthouse Project, I believe? The
Lighthouse Project, exactly. This is something we started about 6 years ago, Jacob, and it was the idea, the innovation of our CEO and chairman. 6 years ago, if you go back, was really kind of the depths of the recession. And we wanted to go out and make a difference in all of the communities that we serve. So through the Lighthouse program, we allocate a specific amount of money, roughly $75 per associate per branch. And they can either go in with other teams or do it individually with their teams. And they go out into the community, and we do labor of love type projects, if you will. So we've done a lot of painting of facilities, and these are all directed toward nonprofit. We've helped some schools as well. So we've done renovation of facilities, landscaping. My team here recently worked with the Wilson Pregnancy Crisis Center, and we help provide some care packages for expected mothers, various sundry items that we put together. So in a town of Wilson with 2,200 associates, we can do a lot of outreach. So during the months of May and June, you'll likely, if you're driving through town, you'll see a group of associates for BB&T on there, and they're out there, they're in t-shirts and shorts and doing some type of project to give back to the community. So it's been very, very well received, and it promotes our volunteerism as well.
Yeah, so it's a good thing you guys are making the moms happy. Always the smart thing to do, isn't it?
Smart thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Smart thing to do.
Yeah, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I know that that's definitely one of the things you want to get done first. You're a Midwest boy, from what we were talking about off air. How'd you end up out here in North Carolina?
Great question. I grew up in Southern Ohio, and my father took a job in Michigan my senior year in high school, and then he had an opportunity to take a job in Charlotte. So came down to North Carolina in 1980 with the family. So you still remember some of those Midwest roots, though, when you have winters like we've had here. But thrilled to be here.
Yeah, thrilled to be here. I'm pretty happy here in Wilson as well. But I've heard that you do a pretty good amount of traveling, and it's specific to ballparks.
That's exactly right. If you maybe talk in terms of bucket list, I have seen every Major League Baseball team play a home game over the last 14 years. And I got to clarify that I've seen them play a home game. I can't say I've seen every stadium, because since we started the trip, there have been 4 new ballparks that were built. So we were just recently in New York to see the new Yankee Stadium and Citi Field. So the only one we're lacking right now is the new field in Miami.
Yeah, the Marlins Park?
The new Marlin Park, that's exactly right. So it's been a great way of seeing the country, enjoying Major League Baseball. There's a group of 4 of us that go from the bank, and it's just been great experiences.
All right, and I have to ask, what is your favorite ballpark?
That's an easy question. Born in Chicago, diehard Cub fan. Sitting in the bleachers in Wrigley is something everybody needs to experience. Also, Fenway, I'll be up there again in a couple of weeks. I know you're a Sox fan. Just the nostalgia of the old ballparks. So you put those two in a class by themselves, and then you start talking about the new ballparks. And interestingly enough, and you'll hear a lot of people say this, but Pittsburgh's new stadium that they built about 14 years ago is definitely a fan favorite. You'll hear a lot for Pac-Bell in San Francisco as well. San Diego is a great stadium as well. So if you take kind of the next tier after the old ones, you've got Pittsburgh, San Francisco, San Diego, even Detroit. Comerica is a great ballpark up there.
All right, well, I feel like we could have this conversation go on for hours, but unfortunately I'm going to have to cut it right there. Remember, tonight's game is a BB&T Friday 500 where fans can win up to $500, and that's pretty good incentive to come out to the game, isn't it?
Absolutely. You don't need incentive to see baseball during the summertime, but an extra $500 certainly get you out there and enjoy some great baseball.
All right, well, Scott, thank you for coming in. Really appreciate it.
Great, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, when we come back, we'll have the closing segment here on Tobs Talk. You're listening to Tobs Talk, presented by Thomas & Ferris. And welcome back, everybody, to this edition of Tobs Talk. Tobs Talk is presented by Thomas and Ferris right here on Greenlight Channel 2. I'm Jake Donnelly, and with me now is Tracy Wellington, Marketing Supervisor for Chick-fil-A here in Wilson. Tracy, thank you for coming in this morning.
It's a pleasure, of course.
Okay, so you've been working for Chick-fil-A for how long now?
12 years.
12 years. And what got you into it at the beginning?
I love food service, and Christy Proctor is amazing. I couldn't ask for a better boss, and so she's really taken a lot of time to mentor and develop me and, you know, bring out the best qualities and attributes.
And it seems like she runs a really, not just tight, but fun ship over there at Chick-fil-A. You guys had a big promotion on Wednesday, the Bucks for Backpacks promotion. Do you mind telling me a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. This is our third Bucks for Backpacks. 3 years ago, Christy, she always gets a ton of mail about people wanting to give her something because she's so invested in the community. So 3 years ago, she said, you know what? I want you guys to help me get backpacks for needy children. And so we started the fundraiser. It's an all-day event from 10:30 to 8, and people drop off school supplies, loaded backpacks, or they make a donation of $20, which will fund a whole backpack for a kid. And so she sets a goal for herself every year. This year her goal was 200, and I think we're going to come in at about 240.
So, wow, 240 backpacks. Where are these backpacks going to go exactly?
The Wilson County Schools will have a backpack kind of rally right before school starts, and so people, it's an amazing. If you don't know why you would give, you should wake up and go to this event. I went for the first time last year, and the event starts at 9 a.m., but at 4:30 in the morning, these parents are in line to collect these backpacks. It's amazing. It's very heartfelt. It's awesome to see the community come together like that.
And that's terrific. And you guys are going to provide roughly 240 backpacks to this event?
That's correct.
That's amazing. And she's been doing it for 3 years now. And the reason that she's doing it is kind of interesting. She doesn't really feel comfortable receiving gifts for herself then?
That's correct. She's not very comfortable with that, but also this is something that a lot of people don't know. Behind the scenes at Chick-fil-A, we have a very small office, but we all have a weird school supply fetish. We all like fresh sharpened pencils and erasers and sticky notes, and I mean, it's crazy in our office. Paper clips. I mean, I have a backpack full of things that I don't want people to touch, highlighters, Sharpies, and she has a backpack full also. So she thinks that all kids should get to experience the way erasers smell and pencils. It's weird, I know, but that's who we are.
No, that's perfectly fine. So the kryptonite of the staff for the Chick-fil-A in Wilson on Forest Hills Road would be like a Staples or something like that?
Oh my God, you should see my credit card statement for this month. I've spent a ton of money at Staples.
So I have to ask now, what's your favorite school or office supply?
Oh, I love a notepad. I love a notepad. If it's customized, that's even better, but a notepad. And I just leave notes. Sometimes they're meaningless, but notes everywhere all over the office.
Perforated?
And highlighters.
Highlighters?
Yeah.
Okay, perforated edges or just straight paper?
I like the kind that stick. You can stick
The
to
sticky notes?
Yeah.
Okay, and highlighters, what's your favorite highlighter color?
Pink.
Pink?
Yeah.
Oh, I should have been able to guess that, I think. But just going back one more time to the Bucks for Backpacks, It was an all-day event, and there was a guy who was dancing out on the roof, and I'm from New England. It was, I believe, 99 degrees outside on Wednesday and very humid. That was on the ground. Up on the roof, it's kind of like an oven. Who is that poor soul that was dancing the entire time who appeared to be really enjoying himself, but if I did that, I would have been passed out after about 10 minutes. Who was that?
That was Andrew Smith. He just joined my marketing team, and he is amazing. Everyone kept asking if he had a script, and I was like, no, he's just winging it. That's just his personality. So there was no better person to go on the roof than him. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was attracting the most attention I think I've ever seen from somebody dancing on a roof. Was it his idea to have the bullhorn, or did somebody bring that in?
We have a bullhorn every year, but it varies who's, going to be up there talking. I did it for a little while last year, but he volunteered. It's like tar up there, so it was literally like 125 degrees.
Yeah, no, it was a baking oven up on the roof of Chick-fil-A. One last question. You just said that you were up on the roof. Could people see you? You're not really the tallest person in the world.
I have all that staged. It's all, I had cement blocks, and I was ready. I was prepared.
All right, well, wonderful. Tracy, thank you for coming in. One more time, you guys provided roughly 200, or you will provide roughly 240 backpacks for what event?
The Wilson County Back to School Rally, it's going to be in August, like one of the Saturdays in August, yeah.
Okay, so a great job by the Chick-fil-A here in Wilson, which is located on Forest Hills Road. Again, Tracy, thank you so much. And again, a thank you to Christy Proctor, who is the owner of the Chick-fil-A on Forest Hill Road, for the Bucks for Backpacks promotion. 240 backpacks. That's something, folks. All right, when we come back, we will have catcher for the Wilson Tobs, Matthew Parrish, right here on Tobs Talk. And welcome back, everybody, to this edition of Tobs Talk. I'm Jake Donnelly, and Tobs Talk is presented by Thomas and Ferris right here on Greenlight Channel 2. With me right now is catcher for the Wilson Tobs, Matthew Parrish. Matthew, thank you for coming in this morning. First question, how tired are you after getting in at about 3:30?
I'm very tired. I didn't really get the good sleep last night because I'm still, I guess, up from the game, so it took me a while to get to sleep, so I'm pretty tired.
Are you one of those guys where it takes a while to wind down, even with that 3.5 hour bus ride back from the team?
Definitely. I mean, you don't sleep well on the bus regardless, so when I get back, I'm still kind of amped up.
Yeah. Tobs lost last night's game 3-2 against the Peninsula Pilots. You guys are now 1-3 against the Pilots on the season, but you yourself had a pretty good game last night. You drove in a run, you're 1 for 2, you laid down a sacrifice bunt, you threw out a guy. What seems to be working for you right now, both at the plate and behind the plate?
I think I'm just building off at the plate in my season I had this year at Campbell. I was seeing the ball well and had a good year. Behind the plate, I'm just trying to get more comfortable, and each game it's kind of, it comes back to me. I didn't really catch a lot this year at Campbell. I DH'd most of the year, so like I said, that comfort factor is kind of increasing each time I go out there and play.
And I know no one wants their spring season to end, but you especially, because you were starting to tear the cover off the ball at the end of the season. How good did that feel, knowing that you were able to put up those numbers for Campbell at the end of the season, going into maybe this summer and then next season as well?
Well, it kind of definitely helps with my confidence. You know, I get put in that position, and then when I do good, the coaches, respect me a little bit more, and they start putting me in a little tighter situation. So it helps with the confidence. And then playing this summer, it's kind of like, hey, you belong here, you can do it, keep up the work.
Now, we hear both players and coaches always talk about the adjustments that guys need to make going from the spring season to the summer season. You're in a unique position being a catcher on the team. What's the hardest adjustment for you?
Definitely learning my pitching staff. I mean, I don't catch every guy every time, so each time it's a different pitcher. So, like last night, that was the first night I caught slabs all year. So I kind of have to make adjustments as I catch. I learn them in the bullpen on the fly. And so that's definitely the hardest thing. And then also learning their names. I mean, a guy will be pitching and I accidentally call him the wrong name as I'm walking out to him. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's wrong. So just learning the new people, the new pitchers, what works best for them. So, I mean.
Is it really just a crash course in learning your pitchers?
Oh, yeah. You just, in the bullpen, you tell them, throw everything you got. Let me see what you got. And then you ask them, what are they comfortable with? I mean, I don't want them to throw a pitch that they're not sure of. I'd rather them throw a committed pitch that's a bad pitch versus, an uncommitted pitch that's a good pitch. So.
Now, some of the adjustments, maybe it was a little bit easier for you because there are a couple of Camels on this team, Seth LaRue and John Allen. Does that help with the transition?
It definitely helps with, having people to talk to right away. As you're trying to build other relationships, you can kind of fall back and say, hey, Seth, hey, John. But, I mean, it definitely helps with the transition.
And then you actually have another guy on the team in the person of Justin Carroll, who you've played with before. You're from Angier, North Carolina, but from Johnson County. You said you played with Justin beforehand.
Yes, we played in the same high school. I grew up playing with him and against him a lot, so we kind of know each other very well. We're from right around the same area, so it's pretty nice to finally play with somebody from high school again.
And you're not from necessarily like a town or a city. Where exactly are you from? It's not Angier, right?
No, it's about 12 miles outside Angier, in between Smithfield and Angier, and I live at McGee's Crossroads, and we're proud of it.
McGee's Crossroads?
Yes, it's.
How many people?
I couldn't tell you, but we know most of them. You drive around, you see people you know. Hey, it's just a stoplight.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And do you like that kind of town, the small town feeling?
Definitely, for sure. I love it. Out in the country is where I was born and raised, so.
And playing so close to home, do you have people that come by the games often?
Oh, quite often I have. Actually, I have some family coming tonight that really haven't seen me play a lot. And then my dad and parents are able to come every game. My mom comes, so it's pretty nice.
All right, well, one more question before I let you leave here, and it's the toughest question I always have to ask people.
All right.
What is your favorite baseball memory from a game that you have played in?
That is a tough one.
Yeah, I told you.
Man, my favorite baseball memory that I played in, probably I was in high school, and I hit 2 home runs in the same inning. Same inning. I came up, I was second batter in the inning, and hit a home run, and we batted around, and I came back up and hit another home run.
Now, how big was this field?
It's normal high school field. I mean,
Where were they out? Center, left, right?
both were in left field.
So you were able to turn on the ball?
Yeah.
How good did that feel? Did they give you the silent treatment when you came back to the dugout?
No, they were cheering me on because I don't think they've really ever seen that. And I kind of felt bad, though, because the coach, we were beating the team. By the time I came back around, it was kind of getting out of hand a little bit. And the coach, as I was walking up, he was changing pitchers. And he told me, he's like, hey, man, just hit a ground ball or something, get out. And I ended up hitting another home run, so I kind of felt bad.
So you didn't really come through with that ground ball for the other team's
No,
coach.
I didn't.
I guess, but if you're going to do something like that, you might as well hit the second home run.
Yeah,
Not like a double into the gap or maybe a ground ball that just sneaks inside the baseline. No, I'll just deposit it over the left field wall for the second time this inning.
Yeah.
All right, so Matthew Parrish, very mean kid. Thank you for coming in to Tobs Talk this morning. I really do appreciate it, though. Clearly, a very good guy. Well, when we come back, we'll wrap up this edition of Tobs Talk presented by Thomas and Ferris right here on Greenlight Channel 2. And welcome back, everybody, to this edition of Tobs Talk presented by Thomas and Ferris. I'm Jake Donnelly, and you're watching Tobs Talk on Greenlight Channel 2. Well, first off, I'd like to say thank you to everybody who came in tonight, from head coach of the Tobs, Justin Hay, Tracy Wellington, representative for Chick-fil-A, as well as Scott Evans, the regional president of BB&T, and of course, Matthew Parrish for coming in this morning. We all know how hard it is for the players to wake up, so a special thanks to Matthew Parrish. The Tobs sit at 10-10 on the season. They play host to the Martinsville Mustangs. It's the only time this season that the Tobs and Mustangs will face off. So if you want to see some Mustangs this season, make sure you come out to Fleming for tonight's game. First pitch is scheduled for 7:05. The gates open at 6 o'clock. Tonight's game is our Chick-fil-A night, and it's also a BB&T Friday 500 where fans can win up to $500. So if you need more incentive than just some great summer baseball, how about $500? If that doesn't do the trick for you, well, then I'm running out of ideas, folks. But remember, 7:05 start against the Martinsville Mustangs with gates opening at 6 o'clock. Chick-fil-A night, as well as our BB&T Friday 500. This is Jake Donnelly saying thank you for tuning in to another edition of Tobs Talk presented by Thomas and Ferris, and we'll see you all at Fleming.